Hey, what's up, Charles?
Oi.
Oi.
What's up, fool?
What's going on, brother?
How much are you doing today?
Chillin', listening to one of my old school Austin bands called The Rise. Well, actually, back then they were called Teresa Banks Profiles. Now they're called The Rise. I don't know if they're a band anymore. Hi, Kimball, if you're watching this. He's a drummer. This was the shit. In like 2001, 2002, this is like the shit. It's so fucking good.
I don't see why it's not the shit now. It's fucking awesome.
Turn it up, bro. Check out this part. Chaos. The shows were insane.
Anticipation.
Danny Wood was in this band.
Oh, yeah?
7-inch record.
That's fucking sick.
All right.
I like the space that the vocals are in.
All right, let's go ahead and stop it. Right on.
Hell
yeah,
that's sick.
Teresa Banks Profiles was a band. I had met the singer, and I forgot his name here. Check it out. And he worked at this record store called Sound Exchange, and it was on the Drag, like right there near 18th Street or somewhere around that area.
Yeah.
And I had met the dude, and he's like, hey, have you heard my band yet? And excuse me, holy shit, I hadn't, and I'm like, no, and I had just barely moved here, so I kind of barely knew a couple of people, and he's like, well, check this band out. And I was like, all right.
You could just start it off on the right foot.
So good. Yeah, he was a really cool dude, too. I don't know where he's at or where, or how if he's still around in Austin or whatever. But anyways, man.
Awesome.
So
hell yeah,
this is my homie, Charles Godfrey. He's also the producer for my band's album, my band Fire Walk With Me's album, Eternal Black Rainbow. And also all around awesome dude. He works at Sound. He's got his own business called Scary American, and he is a badass producer. How are you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. It's a nice early butt crack of noon right now.
Is it? It's not even noon yet.
It's like it's coming up on it, but yeah, it's a good day. The calendar's looking full for a couple months, and things are happening.
It's 11:50.
Yeah.
It's 11:50.
50, Mifty?
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
Who's
our friend?
This is Litz. And if you don't know who Litz is, then you're just dumb. Right, Conrad?
I remember it by Schlitz, but without the S.
Wait, maybe you could put the glasses on him.
That'd be super cool. Does it fit on his nose?
Yeah, no, it's not working. He's not worthy of the Gucci.
Right, but he looks like Beethoven.
Yeah, they all look the same, man, when you're in the bust. Anyways, welcome to Release the Bats podcast, and thanks for coming down and taking your time out of your day to come over here and just bullshit and hang out with your boy.
Hell yeah, man. Glad I could be here.
Not only is he a producer friend, but he's an actual friend. Him and I go back, what now? A year and a half?
Like 2 years about?
2 years?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the band, And You'll Know Us by the Trail of Dead?
Briefly.
Does it ring a bell at all?
A pretty big bell. I think we rang about 13 bells on this last record.
Jesus Christ, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
No shit. Well, right on. Well, if y'all do not know, Charles is the man behind the massive sound of Trail of Dead's new album, and the awesome recording that you did. And I was there. I would pop in and out of the studio to check out how things were going.
Yeah, it was a super, super fun record. We were able to do it at my studio, Scary American, but we also, it's based in the Mosaic Sound Collective, which is an awesome hub for, the working class musician.
Straight up.
Yeah, and it was a great way to, signify that we're doing things right and well there at Mosaic, because we were able to get a high profile band like Trail of Dead and get them in there to do a full-length production. And it's really solidified a lot of cool things on my studio's end, but also for Mosaic. And the guy who runs it, Dan Redman, he has a couple boys that are in this band called Residual Kid, and one of them, Ben, is now drumming for Trail of Dead as well. So it's it's kind of testament to the community over there and everything fun that happens.
Yeah, I just now thought of that. So Dan Redman, I met him a few times actually. I'm trying to get in the space over there. At the Mosaic, since it looks like Music Lab is going to be going down.
Yep.
But I did talk to Dan online, and I asked him about a room. Yeah, and his kid is. Did he play guitar in Residual Kid, or did he play drums in Residual Kid?
I think he was on kit, but he's multi-instrumentalist, so he's able to interchange between drums and guitar as Conrad and Jason are swapping instruments, be it they're both on the front, and then he'll be on the kit, or if one of those two cats jump to the kit, then he'll just jump on guitar, and so he's extremely versatile, and he's bringing that youthful injection of adrenaline straight into the jugular.
Straight up.
And it's like, their live show is better than it has been in a long time, and the music is great. People are giving great reviews for it. So
the reviews are kicking ass, dude.
Hell yeah.
The reviews are kicking. So Trail of Dead are my boys. They're some of the best people I know, right? But the album, Reese came over here to listen. He got the test pressing, and Reese came over and we put it on my my analog stereo right there. I have this really old 70s Yamaha. I think it's a Yamaha. Can't tell from here. I should know these things. I'm such a bad audio
pioneer over here.
Pioneer. Okay, yeah. I got bad eyes and I got bad memory. So yeah, man, we blasted it out in here and it sounded fine. Sounded fine to me. On the vinyl sounded great. But apparently there was something there that the dudes were noticing that I didn't notice. But anyways, the album came back sounding even better. Now they are on tour. They took dude from Residual Kid out on tour, which I think is really cool. What kids like 21, young man, I'm sorry, I want to say kid. Young man out on the road with probably one of the hardest road gigs you can get on.
Yeah,
is with Trail of Dead.
Those are some real dudes in that band that will not mess around. So it's
just the chaos that follows that follows them. Like I remember I was talking to our tour manager one time because I went out with Trail of Dead and we did a whole world thing one time, and I think it was, I forgot who it was I was talking to. I want to say it was our tour manager Arn Buss. Or whatever, I don't know. We would get like these pedals, the guitar pedals. It doesn't matter what pedal it was, and we would try it at Guitar Center or wherever we're getting the pedal from, and we would try it out. It would work perfect. I would get double batteries, make sure everything's covered and all that stuff. And then we'd get onto the stage, and I would plug it in, and then all of a sudden it just wouldn't work. I swear, dude. I don't know how many
times
Gremlins,
man. They exist. Gremlins fucking exist.
No, I had a theory. We all have a magnetic. We're batteries. We give off we have electricity. It's what makes everything run. I think that Conrad's got extra electricity in him or something because he shorts out these pedals, and I don't know. I just didn't understand how it kept happening.
Curious.
Yeah, but anyways, God, I forgot his name again from Residual Kid. Ben. So when I found out that they were taking him out on tour, my mind flashed back to 2014, right after my kid was born. I was working at Continental Club, and Residual Kid was playing a gig, and I remember I saw the kids. They were kids, dude.
Yeah.
Like they were kids. They were like 15, 16 or whatever. And I just remember thinking, are these guys are they like a blues band or a rock band? Like what kind of, is it pop punk? Like Residual Kid. It sounds poppy, sounds kind of punkish. And then they played, and I kind of honestly, man, I'll tell you, I kind of discounted them. I've done that twice in my life where I've discounted a band just because they were really young and ended up upstaging my band one time. But yeah, Residual Kid, when they started playing their music, I was floored. I was like, these kids are talented. The future of rock, whatever they were doing, I was totally taken back.
Yeah, and they had like the original love for it that we all had like back in the day when we would open up those records. That
Oh,
we loved.
hungry.
Yeah, hungry for stuff. Yeah,
those kids were hungry, man.
Yeah.
They were going after and getting it, and then I found out that they were going to have Ben in the band, and I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
My first thing was, well, can he play both? And of course he can, because Conrad said he could. And then I saw the gig over here on the south side. What's the name of that place again?
Oh, I don't remember what
Yeah,
it
I
was.
forget. It used to be called something Scoot In or whatever. Anyways, way down south. And with that first song, the first hit, when I saw that guy on drums, I was like, that's it.
Yeah, he knows how to hit
You
him.
can tell like a great drummer from the first hit sometimes.
Oh yeah. Coming
Right?
from myself being a drummer as well, like you got to hit the drums in a certain way to make them sing right.
I suck at drums,
and only an experienced drummer will know where to hit, how to hit for what part, and the dynamics are they're gonna come true definitely.
Sweet
with their talent levels and all. So it sucks to say that you judge people like that instantaneously, but it's kind of a factor of it. You can just see
You're
if
right.
somebody's speaking a language or if they're trying to speak a language, because music is another language and you have the different dialects for the genre. And just seeing that human being come out to speak it naturally, then you'll see that they're a great musician.
Do you know who also was ridiculously good at a very young age? You've met Yayo, right?
Yeah, Sanchez, right?
Yeah, Yayo Sanchez, the Kiss guy. He was on the podcast about a year ago. I want to try to get him back here again. Anyways, so I had I don't know, I want to say back in like 2010, maybe 2009. My old rock band, High Watt Crucifixers, we were playing a show at Red Eyed Fly, and the opener was a band called Rubber Monster. And they had main support for us. And I remember the Chris Alanese, the drummer for the band, was going, Rubber Monster, what kind of dumb name is Rubber Monster? And we all kind of thought that, because at that time, my band, the High Watt Crucifixers, we were kind of big shit. Like, we were the band that nobody wanted to play with because we would just upstage every band we played with. It was very rare. I think we did a show with World Burns to Death, and we could never upstage World Burns to Death. We played a show with Broken Bone. No, not Broken Bones. That's way old days. What's the name? Jason McMasters has a band. God damn it. I'm sorry, Jason, if I forgot the name. Whatever. So his band. God damn it. I got the internet right here. I'm going to check it. Anyway, so we played with them. They were amazing, and they totally upstaged us. The intensity matched. Now I'm going to find out the name of his band because I feel like an asshole right now.
Edit it in.
Yeah. Jason McMasters. Dangerous Toys. It wasn't Dangerous Toys that we played with, though. Oh, my God.
Might be able to find a wiki history or something like that.
Am I actually going to have to edit this? Here we go. Bro.
There he is.
Yeah, he's such a badass. Dude, that guy sang for Dangerous Toys. Dude, he sang for Sad Wings, which is Judas Priest tribute band. Igniter.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God, I can't remember. I'm sorry, Jason. I'm such an idiot. Anyways, so we were kind of like big shit back in those days. And so we showed up early to watch Rubber Monster because we thought there's no way that this band's going to be any good. And they turned out to be one of the best rock bands we'd ever seen. And I just remember we were right up close. We're like, oh, come on, let's show these kids some love, man. And they saw us in the crowd. They're like, oh, you guys are our favorite band, like that. And we're just like, yeah, man, we're here to support you.
Hell yeah.
And then they started playing. And like by midway through the show, we were just like slowly inching away from the stage. We're just like, oh my God, this band is like ridiculously good.
All right. They're going to destroy you just by proximity.
They were up above and beyond what most bands could ever do. And then at the end of it all, dude, they did Hot for Teacher, and the drummer did the drum thing, and the guitar player played the lead exactly. And we were just like, oh my God, dude. And then after we rehearsed, we were setting up our gear. And I remember our drummer was going, like, talking under his breath while we were next to him talking to us. And he's just like, this is what I'm fucking saying, man. We got to fucking rehearse. This is bullshit. You know, that's what we wouldn't because we didn't rehearse that week. And his whole thing was we got to rehearse every day. So he was just, it was an opportunity for him to jump on us about rehearsing. Yeah. And
gotta be tight, man.
So Yayo ended up being a really good friend of ours, and still is a good friend of ours to this day. But Ben, on the other hand, got the gig for. I think Yayo was being considered for the trail thing also.
I had heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, you can't really have Yayo up there because, I mean, you could, but it's going to be the Yayo show.
Yeah.
Because he himself is a born entertainer, rock star type, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like the kind of dude that will stand up on the monitor, jump out into the crowd. He's really big into crowd participation. And I don't see that with Trail Dead.
Yeah, the one personal experience I have with Yayo is the day I was moving here to Austin. It was going into a house with Hannah Brewer, who was in this band Purple at the time, and then Marshall Moon, who's this other artist here in town, producer.
Purple?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah. They would work with Frenchie Smith and stuff like that back in the day, but they're not really a band anymore.
Okay,
and,
all right.
Like, she's got her own thing going on. But yeah, I showed up with my U-Haul, my truck, my car in tow and everything like that. And Hannah and her boyfriend were there at like around 7 or 8 at night or something like that. And Yayo was there.
No shit.
Yeah. And so they were all just hanging out. And so he helped me line up my truck, get it into the right spot. And I just remember him, like, it was the first time I'd ever met him. I'd heard of him before, but like I was like, I just remember this one line from him. All right, cool. You got it there. Now cut it. Cut it, bro. And he kept on like spinning his hand like in the wheel. Now cut it. So anytime I hear something cut, and I'm just thinking of Yayo.
Oh, dude, I got Yayo impression.
Yeah.
Hey, man. What's up, dude? We're gonna fucking make a record, dude. Oh, be fucking sick, man. Explosions, fucking confetti cannons, bro. It's gonna be sick. Oh, dude, I met Dave Grohl and it was amazing. I jumped up on stage and I upstaged Pat Smear, man.
Yeah, super great energy.
He didn't say that. Yeah, Yayo, if you haven't met Yayo Sanchez is by far one of the coolest, funnest people to hang around with. He's a genuine dude. His dad is really cool. His whole family actually would all show up to the Rubber Monster gigs. After that, gig, we ended up playing a bunch of shows with Rubber Monster, because they were just totally tits, man. And they were amazing. And I remember Yayo used to call me every couple of weeks, and he'd be like, "Dude, when I turn 21, man, we're going to Expose." Like he had like this idea of like we're gonna go to Expose strip club and have the DJ put on like Motley Crue, and we're gonna take it back to the 80s and like just be tipping out these strippers and drinking shots of whiskey,
dropping notes.
And I was like, yeah, I'm down for that, man. I hate strip clubs though, but I would have done it for Yayo.
Of course.
Yeah, strip clubs suck. Yeah. Anyways, all right. So among the bands besides Trilla Did that you've done, what other bands have you recorded with, or you've tracked?
Well, gosh, like I've been doing this now professionally for about 15 years. So
where at? You were in El Paso?
Yeah, in El Paso. I started out at Sonic Ranch Recording Studios at like around 2006 about. But yeah, like when I was first started there, it was interesting. There was a lot of metal at the time, so I was able to work with like Cannibal Corpse, Bullet for My Valentine. Gosh. I suck at naming things off the top of my head, but along the line, Devil Driver was another one. Devil
Driver's badass.
Yeah, Des Farfar is an amazing dude. Really, really down to earth guy.
Did you know that I named my son Desi after
that
guy? Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, not specifically because of Devil Driver, but specifically because I like Devil Driver, right? They're badass, really.
Totally.
And then I was trying to justify giving, because when Desi was born, I wanted there to be a Z in his name, like as Dezi, not Desi, because Desi is how you're supposed to spell it, Desi, Desi. But I put Desi in there, and I'm like, oh, there's a guy from Devil Driver. His name's Desi. That's it.
That's it. Sold.
That's what I did. So you did Devil Driver.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. And then after that, like around like 2009. I had met Stuart Sullivan and Paul Leary on the Sublime with Rome record.
Paul Leary.
Yeah, from Butthole Surfers.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I was about to say that sounds very familiar to me.
Yeah, that guy is amazing, and just like, gosh, I can go on and on about him, but
cool.
You get the gist. He's an amazing dude, and so like it was the original production team, and the Sublime guys plus Rome, and then myself assisting the session. So it was a really amazing time. And then we were also later that year doing the Yeah Yeah Yeah's It's Blitz record. So it kind of opened up a bunch of doors away from metal. Even like kind of residually did it later on after that. It went more indie and
for Sonic Ranch.
Yeah, well, everything was based out of Sonic Ranch for me at that time, around 2009, still 2010. But so I started to do more indie stuff and also some more reggae stuff, and that led on for about 3 or 4 years, and I started. Gosh, what were some of the other projects that I came to? As I said, I'm terrible with naming names off the top of my head, but there's, I've done over 350 records in my life.
Wow.
That's
rad, man.
Yeah, I
know what you're saying. You have too many, there's too many to think of just one when you're thinking of an example.
Exactly. I can go into latter times, like, like one of the I started to do country also like the past 4 or 5 years, and the biggest.
You told me a story about a country record that you're doing.
Yeah, recently the biggest one that I had done is Whiskey Myers. It's a self-titled record. It did surprisingly well. Like it topped the Billboard charts in the rock and roll category and country category, and on the top 200, which is every genre, we got number 6 between Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, so it really went up the top. And Sturgill Simpson also released his record that same week, and we were on top of him. So I was quite proud of that. We'll see what else that brings over the times, but. Really looking forward to another record with those cats. So, I've also been able to work with this guy, Whitey Morgan, at Sonic Ranch, but we also finished out at my studio here in Austin with some vocals and some overdubs. Prior to that, I also worked with this gentleman, Cody Jinks, another really, really cool cat who's doing very, very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so things went across multiple genres. And then as I came here, I started to find myself doing some... we're in more of an urban environment here, so I found some hip hop and R&B artists as well.
There's a lot of that around here.
Totally. So and I'm all about being involved in the community and stuff like that now. Like coming from Sonic Ranch, it was a place that was everybody from the world would come to us. But now I moved my studio into a thick city where I'm involved in a community and a scene where I have to be able to work along lines like that and bring those credentials and experience that I have to this environment. And it just keeps me, as I feel like, an authentic human being, to where I can go and represent who I am with the person sitting in front of me, regardless of what they've done in the past. Or it's just like who they are in front of me right then and there, and the music they're wanting to do, because I want to meet musicians where they're at and help them take the next step in their musical career. Yeah,
and when you did our record, Fire Walk With Me record, you did a remarkable job at coaching me. In like what I was playing and what I was singing, you were like the 5th band member, you were like the 5th band member, man. You really you pulled out really good performances out of me, and I had never really worked with a producer that got as involved as you did, and you weren't like overstepping your boundaries or anything like that, or you weren't pushing anything, because I automatically felt right at home. Sitting down with you in the studio, working this stuff out. I would tell you about the lyrics. I would talk to you about the vibe of the song. I would tell you what the song is about, and then you would dynamically work around that dynamically to try to convey those feelings I was having. Yeah, man. You really did something with my band or with my music that no other producer ever really has done, and you just became really involved. And somehow you were able to. identify exactly what I was trying to do. Which
Yeah, well,
has
it comes
never
from
happened.
it comes from being a musician myself since I was 10,
Yeah.
and I'm a drummer, so I was, always sitting in that chair that was always I had to be the dependable source of the tempo and the, be it the arrangement and stuff like that, that like working with different artists in El Paso throughout the years, really kind of like almost frustrated me with how much intention I was giving into the projects and the band that I was started to just do a lot of things by myself.
I think you told me that when we first met. You were telling me that you were the drummer, and the reason why you started recording is because you wanted to get recordings and
and the only way I found myself being able to do it was to do it myself.
learn it yourself, and that's how you became.
Yeah, and it's surprising. I've had a guitar longer than I've had a drum kit.
No shit.
Yeah, so like I also
know you're such a badass drummer too, man.
And so, but I'm definitely primarily a drummer. I can play guitar, but I definitely wouldn't ever be able to go up on stage and actually do anything. But that makes people smile. I'm like, I might be able to make a noise, but in the studio, I know what's going on. That's the whole thing. I know the dynamics. I know the language. And I know where, and then as you explain the objective of the song,
Yep.
I can be able to speak that language with you as a guitarist or as a drummer with, also the rhythm in mind, and, bass is kind of somewhere in the middle between, drums and guitar because it's, rhythmically foundationed, but then you also have bits of melody aspect to it as well. And, I also, growing up in, obviously high school band and stuff like that, I learned how to play in percussion, like xylophones and marimbas and cool stuff like that. So I got understanding of the keyboard as well. And I'm definitely not a piano player, but I play keys for sure. And I love synthesis. And so like gathering all these cool synthesizers over the years is just a part of, building my studio and stuff. And and that's kind of also what, gravitated towards the Trail of Dead record because, Conrad is way into synths and everything too. So we were able to speak that language.
There was no other person for that album except for you. I see that now. I mean, at the time, that was before I had worked with you. You were doing the Trail record, but before I knew then what I know now, I could see now in retrospect there was no other person for that album other than you. Right. You really made that album sound great.
The last record, and I'm not dissing Frenchie at all. I love the guy. Yeah. He brought that record with the way that those guys are, especially Conrad and his, spacious approach to everything. What Frenchie did is he brought it to Sonic Ranch for like, 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. But the demand was to make the record there, right?
You're talking about the 9th album?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the previous one. And so, yeah, we went to
Sean
Sonic.
Raleigh was on that album, right?
Yeah, he hung out for a little bit too, yeah.
Yeah, Sean Raleigh was there. Okay.
Yeah, he was helping engineer it and such. And so, we were there, and it was a really, really intense time. And that's where I started to really learn about Conrad and how he just has to have this flow. And what I saw happen is it really intensified, with all that, with like not being able to leave the recording process. And then he jumped over to Cambodia for years after that.
Yeah.
So it, like, just even witnessing that showed me like the compression of the personality is not necessarily the answer.
Right.
And so when we came to doing this record, it was, I knew that I had to give him his space, and he had just come back from Cambodia. So he was in a pretty dark place.
He was, man. He was him when he moved here. I put him up in my place, so he lived with me for about 5 months.
Yeah, and I came over to your place.
Yeah,
and that's where we met. Mm-hmm. And he started showing me some of the stuff he was working on, and he had all of his toys and everything in a room that was like 10 by 10.
It was so small. He was he moved because he needed a place to stay.
Yeah.
The plan was to have him move into my dad and I own a house over here in East Austin.
Mm-hmm. So he got on his feet.
So the plan was to have him move into there. My dad was on board with Conrad moving in. But that was sort of like my fault because my dad, he has like mental issues. He's got mental issues where he thinks people are after him. People are trying to take his stuff, and it hasn't always been that way. That's my own like little weird battle that I'm kind of fighting. My dad's starting to have signs of I don't want to say dementia because I'm not a doctor, but he'll forget something he told you. It happens a lot. Like
My grandfather suffered from that as well. And
Yeah,
I'll never forget those last 7 years. And
I'm not having a good time dealing with it.
Yeah.
So I guess this was at that time where I didn't realize how much of an issue these things were for my dad until Conrad moved in, and Conrad wasn't even there 2 weeks before my dad came to me, and my dad's like, "Hey, you gotta move this guy out," and I was like, "This is not part of the plan. You said you wanted a roommate, and you said," and my dad says, "It doesn't matter. I don't feel comfortable with him," and all this stuff, and I was just like, so. Conrad ended up moving in with me, moved into my son's room. That was all just emergency. We had no other options, you know. So Conrad ended up moving into my kid's room. My kid moved into my room, and we just made it work. And
good man.
So I just because Conrad's one of my best friends, and I love him.
Yeah.
So put him up, but at the same time, he's a grown man. I'm a grown man. Place was kind of small. We got kind of cabin fever. We're just kind of jumping at each other all the time. Finally, he was able to make some ends meet, and things came together, and then he got his own place, and then he was in a much happier place after that.
Yeah, and
all that kind of stuff. But yeah, when he did move here, he was in a really dark place, and I got to see some of that, and I felt bad because I didn't know what to do. I felt like it was my fault because of my dad and all that stuff, But now that but when he started focusing on the album, when he started focusing on the album, I was listening to a lot of these songs he was writing at the time because we're in the same house, so I got to listen to all the songs in their skeletal versions
and in their infancy within their evolution.
Yeah, and I saw his journey throughout this, and it was very inspiring. I started writing more after seeing him write as much as he did.
Yeah,
every day, all day, I would wake up in the morning. 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, I would just hear, and like all this noises coming from his room. And then I don't know if he had pads like this. He had like an electronic drum kit, so I would just hear like just tapping, constant tapping. I'm like, what the fuck is this dude doing, man?
Yeah.
And
well, it's the way he's wired.
Yeah, he's put together this album.
And that's why he's not just a multi-instrumentalist, but like he also does different forms of art all over the place. Like his visual art is stunning, and you can see it on all the record covers and the inserts and everything. They're just beautiful. It really adds a lot of value to all the other work that he does.
Yeah, there's been times like one of the big things that Conrad does is when we're on tour, or when I was working with Trail Dead, and when we go on tour, he just doodles a lot. But I wouldn't call it doodling. It's like he's creating this giant like elephants and chicks with swords and like all like this stuff, and he's like, what do you think of this? I'm like, you just did that.
Yeah, because it's all, everything that he does is all one giant coherent story too. Like he's building characters.
Did he tell you about the book?
Oh yeah. It's
the book he's working
it's
on.
Amazing. Like the size of the projects as he sees them. Like it's really hard for any of us who do not constantly do art 24 hours a day, like every waking moment,
literally,
to conceptualize how big and far all the roots of his stories are going. Like you imagine like somebody like J.R. Tolkien would think along those lines.
Just constantly in a mode of just coming up with stuff. Yeah. I know what you mean, man.
Yeah, and it just keeps going far beyond anyone's perspective outside of that. Mm-hmm. So that way when they finally does write it all out and he feels like there's a comprehensive package that can be delivered to the audience, then it's just like, whoa, this is huge. It's an entire world they're thinking of.
I'll be honest with you. I moved to Austin in 2000, and I never listened to Trail of Dead until I got hired to do guitar work for them, and I remember I started working with them in 2008, something like that. 2008, I think it was 2008. And I started doing some guitar tech work for them. I had not heard one song, one album, nothing. But I know them from around town, and I would see them at parties, and we would drink and stuff, but I never listened to their albums. So I actually became a fan on the road.
Yeah.
Like on the road, I was like, oh, I get it now. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I would listen to their records. So then I started learning the songs, and then in the guitar tunings that they had, and that's when I became that's when I stopped being a fan, and I was more of like this is what is like how do you do this?
Something to study.
Yeah, and I basically just started studying the guitar tunings. I don't write songs in regular standard tuning anymore. It just feels weird to me. I always have to use an alternative tuning, and that is because of Trilidad. Yeah. So I kind of credit them a lot with how my band sounds now, obviously. But anyways, they're out. Where are they at right now? I know that they're in Germany or something.
Yeah, I think they got to Leeds.
Oh, they're in Leeds now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm just I'm happy to have had a chance to work with Trilidad. They showed me a lot. They kind of put me through the fire, I would say, a little too early.
Yeah. Well, that's the way we all learn,
But I came out okay, and we're all still friends. It's not like they're like you are to me as they are to me as well as I are to them. It just wasn't a job. We became friends on the job.
Yeah.
And then
and your like your personalities together of as you said, like when you came back from Cambodia have really even like helped each other, getting to different places on a human level, beyond music, beyond anything. Yeah, you're still able to see them as people, which I think is one of the main rules in my approach to music is you have to see the human being. That's the most important thing in all the world above anything else is human beings. And if you can register that in your own mind as you're doing your work that you've learned beyond being a human being and within, then you can start to really have an amazing output in your records.
I'm currently working on an electronic project right now. I wrote this really cool. Actually, I think I might even be able to. No, I wouldn't track it. I don't think it'd track it. But oh, sorry, Jason McMasters. The band was called Broken Teeth. Now it comes back to me.
There you go.
I'm such an ass.
It's on the tip of the tongue. That's all it was.
I'm such an asshole, man. You know what it is? I'm just so excited.
You just have to listen to the whole podcast
I'm just so excited now because you're here and I get to do the podcast. I'm trying to get as much content in per week as I can, so it gives me a chance to work on the video, gives me a chance to work, spend more time in Logic and stuff. I'm going to try to get a job doing some editing, film editing, and some audio editing, but not crazy audio editing, just like basic stuff for commercials and whatnot. Yeah. I have a pretty good plan to do that, but I want to do something where I basically just work from here and be able to still do my music and be around the things that I love. I love this place where I stay at right now.
Yeah. It's a great location too.
It is, man. So earlier we were talking about El Paso, and did you ever times that I've been in El Paso, I made a joke one time. I told my friends, I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go down to Juarez. I'm gonna get some fireworks and just like I'm gonna get some fireworks and I'm gonna buy some weed, or I said something like that, and I said that at a bar. And my friends were like, no, you can't go. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna leave in the morning. I already talked to so and so. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna go get some brass knuckles. I'm gonna get some fireworks and buy some weed. And in my mind, I'm kidding. I'm not going to Juarez. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like a dangerous place to be.
It was the world's deadliest city, even above anything going on in the Middle East a couple years ago. About 5 years ago, but yeah.
I think like during that time, I had heard that these on the right there in Juarez, the cartels had hung like 3 or 4 dead bodies from the bridge over a freeway.
That's probably just one event that I heard many times of it being numbers.
I had read
5 times that.
I read it. I was down there actually recording at Clap of Thunder. Have you ever heard of Clap of Thunder? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was down there recording an album at Clap of Thunder, and Gabriel Gonzalez from Sparta was doing the engineering on that. Also, he ended up playing slide and doing some backups on the song that we did with the singer for the Donnas. Yeah. We made a song with them, and nothing ever happened. I don't know why, but that was such a great song. Anyways, so we were down there working in Clap Thunder, and then we went to, I guess, the singer for Sparta's Jim Ward. Yep. He had a bar down there called Hope and Anchor, I think.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool place.
It was at that bar, and I told the dudes, yeah, I'm going to Juarez in the morning. And then So later on that night, I got like Jim came up to me, Gabe came up to me, my friend Eric Sanger, who was there recording, he's playing bass, and like two other people. They came up to me. They're like, "Dude, you cannot go to Juarez." And then I was like, And then Gabe was like, he's like, "Dude, I know that you." He's like, "I love you, man. You're my friend. Here's the thing: you cannot go to Juarez. You are gonna get kidnapped." And I was like, "Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to Juarez." They're like, "I'm serious." They were like genuinely concerned for me,
and rightfully so.
That I was gonna go to Juarez.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, "Holy shit! These guys are totally serious about this." Mm-hmm. So I guess Juarez is super dangerous. Is it still dangerous?
It ebbs and flows. But there was a little resurgence a couple years ago. But about 5 years ago, when it was really bad, can you imagine that, dude? Oh, well,
like
even at
kidnapped or something?
Even at Sonic Ranch, like I didn't have to imagine it. One of the engineers lost a brother. I'll never forget being there when that happened and helping him cope through it. He obviously
a brother
of an engineer at Sonic Ranch, and also we're on a 3,400 acre pecan orchard over there too, so there's lots of ranch hands, and there was at least 5 or 6 other cousins or brothers or something just with people at that ranch that we were working at. So it directly impacted everybody over there. Somebody had like 1 degree of separation between somebody who got killed.
Oh my
all the
God.
time, everywhere.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, dude. It was really, really bad. But the interesting part about all of it is that they really, really tried not to let the violence spill over the border, because they knew as soon as that would happen, then the entire U.S. government would just come in and clean house. Kind of like what they did in
clean house in Juarez?
Yeah, kind of like what they did in Colombia and stuff like that. So they knew not to let it spill over. So all the violence was, even though, the body of people that is Juarez, El Paso, it's this giant body of people with a border right in the middle. That border had all the violence on that one half. And wow. It was amazing, because you could be a stone's throw away from, the most violent city in the world.
Yeah, you could. I remember that we used to drive on the freeway around there. And they're like, "Yeah, there's Mexico." Literally, just like you're on the freeway, there's a little like river, and then there's a fence, and then there's Juarez. And you can look over it, and it just looks like very colorful looking houses, but they didn't look kind of run down or whatever.
Right across from the university at that one point in I-10. Yeah,
I think,
crazy.
Exactly. Totally. That exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'd been to Mexico. I was for my 21st birthday. I went down to Tijuana. Because I lived in California. When you hear Tijuana, you instantly think of
good time.
Oh, the good time. Yeah, you instantly think of all like the decadence that comes along with the border town, right?
Yeah.
So I'm from San Jose, California. We drove down on my 21st birthday. We drove down. It was me, my friend Ken Lee, my friend Paul Gonzalez, and my girlfriend at the time, Linda Masuda. And I was cruising with Linda. We went to I think we all squeezed in that one car, I think. And we had a stop in LA. We left really early that day, and we had a stop in LA. And I was having anxiety about going to Tijuana, because I'd never been to Tijuana before. And we stopped in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, to take a break. And by this time, it was about noon, because I think we left really early, like at 6 or something like that. And the guys were like, "Well, we're going to go over here." And I was like, "I don't want to go over there. I'm going to stay here," because I was feeling all weird. And then finally, I was just walking around this one area in Hollywood. And then I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm 21. I'm going to go get a drink right now. I'm going to go get my first legal drink in a bar right now here in Hollywood." So I walked into this. There was no bar. I couldn't find any bar that was open. It was like noon. So I found a Denny's. And Denny's had like a lounge. There was like at the back of the room that just said lounge in like fucking neon letters. And so I just walked into the lounge.
They know their market.
There. Right. Other shit.
Yeah, I'm like, because I've never heard of a Denny's.
Yeah, it did, dude. It did. It had like it was a Denny's. It was a Denny's.
That's hilarious.
And I walked into the lounge, and it's just like a bar. Yeah.
Aye.
And as I'm walking into the lounge, on the left-hand side, there's a payphone, and on the payphone, Ron Jeremy's on the payphone. You know who Ron Jeremy is?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, Ron Jeremy, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy, the fat porno guy that we all seen, bone a million girls. Well, he was on the payphone, and I remember I walked in, I did a double take, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's Ron Jeremy!" I went and I sat down at the bar, and I was like, "Okay." And then they had like light umbrellas there. They were shooting something in the lounge.
Oh my god!
Yeah, not no straight porn. I don't know if that's what it was, but
the scene where he gets the girl or something.
There was cameras there. There was that lighting umbrellas. There was a lot of lighting in there, and it was a black dude just sitting there at the bar, and the bartender comes up to me, and he's a gay dude, and he's just like talks to me. I can tell immediately he's gay. He's like, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" And he said something to me like that, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's gay. I'll have a beer and I want a shot of whiskey." So comes and brings me the whiskey. And I'm sitting there and I want to share this moment. Ron Jeremy's right there. I'm 21-year-old Rich Mendez is just going, "This is Ron Jeremy." Right? He's like a celebrity, bro. Straight up. So I told the bartender, I'm like, "Excuse me, sir. I'm not going to point, but see the guy over there on the telephone? You see that guy?" And he looks over. He goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you know who that is? That's Ron Jeremy. He's like one of the world's famous porn stars ever." And the bartender says something to me like, "Honey, I don't watch porn." He said something like that. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? You don't know who Ron Jeremy is?" So here I am having this amazing moment nobody to share it with. Finally, I look at the dude at the end of the bar sitting there having a drink too. And I call him over. I'm like, "Come here, dude." And he walks over there. He's like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Look over there at the guy on the phone." And the guy, black dude, looks at me, looks over, looks at the phone. He goes, and his eyes just opened up. He goes, "Oh shit!" And he just gets up, walks past me, walks like this close to like maybe like a foot away from Ron Jeremy on the phone. And he goes, "It's you! It's you! Oh my God, it's you!" And then I was just sitting there going, "Well, I didn't really expect him to do that." Yeah. And then Kaz came back. He's like, "Oh my God, that guy's a legend, bro. That guy's a legend. I'm like, "I know he's a legend, man, but he's on the phone. Let's just be cool about it."
Chill out.
And then finally, Ron gets off the phone. Ron comes up to me and he goes, I think because the other guy was like in his face and he just wanted to come say hi to us, be really cool about it. And then I was looking at Los Angeles has like, I don't know. In San Francisco, they have like the rag. It's like SF Weekly.
Yeah.
Here they have the Chronicle, Austin Chronicle. Los Angeles has the Los Angeles whatever.
Yeah.
And on the back, it was a picture of Uncle Sam, and he was pointing at me, and he goes, "What are you doing here in Los Angeles?" I'm like, because I told him I was from San Jose, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm on my way to Tijuana. We're gonna go down there and just and we're going down for my 21st birthday." He's like, "Your birthday? I'm going to give you an autograph." Then he grabbed the pen from the bartender and he signed the LA Week. I think it's LA Weekly. Yeah, he signed LA Weekly in the back and he goes, "Rich, all the women of the world want you." Signed, best wishes, Ron Jeremy.
Women in the world want
That's what he said.
you.
That's what he wrote.
And it's got the Uncle Sam right
there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Amazing.
And then so he leaves, right? He walks out of the room and I'm sitting there and I have a couple more drinks. And I want to go find my friends so they can meet Ron Jeremy because Ron Jeremy went and sat at a table with all these other people, and I couldn't find my friends. And Ron sees me, and he goes, "Hey, come here. Hey, kid, come here." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Here, have a seat. Sit down." And I sat down, and he starts telling me, he goes, I don't know. He just started telling me, him and his friends were talking, having a conversation, but Ron was very like, he kept including me in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, this guy is like the coolest, nicest dude ever. Then finally my friends show up and my girlfriend walks up. She goes, "Hey, we got to get going." I'm like, "This is Ron Jeremy." And Ron Jeremy stands up. He goes, "Oh, who's this?" And then I'm like, "This is my girlfriend." And then Ron looks at me and he goes, "Very nice to meet you, ma'am. My name is Ron." Like all super, like really formal super extra polite. And here's the thing about when I shook Ron Jeremy's hand, dude, his hands are rough as hell. Like this guy's been hammering nails like since he's been 2 years old. Anyway, so I ended up going to Tijuana. There was no sense of danger ever. I remember the first night when I got there in Tijuana, I felt bad because there were so many kids there, like right at the border. Like as soon as you cross over the bridge, there's just like a ton of like little homeless kids. And when I say kids, I'm talking like 4 years old, 5 years old. There's so many of them. And at that time, I was really super heavy, vegan, political. I was angry at the system, dude. You know, I would go throw bottles at churches. I was like a radical. I was crazy, out of my mind, not thinking straight, far left-wing radical kid. So I remember seeing these kids, and I was going, I can't party in Tijuana. I'm not going to come over here and party on the backs of these poor people. And so I couldn't enjoy myself, and my friends were like, come on, let's just go, have some drinks. And that whole night, I just couldn't enjoy myself, dude. I kept thinking about those kids and the homeless people on the streets. Yeah. And the bartenders and the waitresses and everybody would tell me, oh, don't worry about them. It's like, those people are rich. They sit there all day long, and all the tourists come through, and they just give them all their money. He's like, if you try to give them anything other than money, they won't take anything. They don't want food. They don't want clothing. They want money. And they want American money. Those are not poor people. And I was like, I'm like, you're just saying that because, you know, I was just like that. So the next day, because we're spending the weekend in San Diego. So the next day, I go to the grocery store, and I get 2 big, giant bags of oranges. And my goal was to give these kids oranges. Right? What kid doesn't like oranges? Right. So we go to Tijuana later that night, and I'm excited to bring all the kids and the families that I saw oranges. And when we're walking over the bridge, here comes all these kids, dude, like 50 or 60 kids. Not one of them wanted an orange. Not one.
I think I was right.
Not one of them. I saw this old lady, dude, blind. I put it in her hand. I'm like, here, orange. I said naranja.
Naranja, yeah.
Naranja. And I was like, here, naranja. And she gets it, she holds it, fills it, and she smells it. She goes, she didn't want the orange either, dude. She was out there begging for money. So what had happened was I ended up just like carrying around 2 bags of oranges all night long at these bars I was going to. You know who wanted the oranges?
The bartenders?
The bartenders.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They can put them in the drinks.
The bartenders bought them from me. Dude,
worked out well.
I was like, well, I got them for $1. It wasn't much. Like it was like $1.50 for a bag of like 8 oranges or something like that. So they gave me like $1 a bag. They're like, here's $1. Thank you for the oranges. People were offering to buy them from me on the streets, like regular people, not homeless people. Yeah. I'm like, no, bro, these are for the homeless people. And everyone's like just laughing. We're like, dude, they don't want that.
That's hilarious.
So yeah,
because people have their priorities.
Well, they had their priorities. They wanted money. Yeah. So that was kind of, even for weeks after that, I had a hard time accepting that the reality of like seeing kids, homeless people trying to manipulate money out of people who don't know better. Yeah. Like me.
And it's pretty much their job.
And it took like 2 or 3 weeks for me just to finally be like, those kids were hustling me. Those 5-year-old kids were out there hustling me. That's wild to think of, I whenever homeless people come up to me and ask me for anything, I always at least give them a look and an acknowledgement. And I always tell them, take care of yourselves or something like that, because you don't know how this person's day is going. You don't know if this is their last day on earth, if they're thinking about jumping off the bridge or taking a bunch of drugs or something. And maybe just like one sign of just being a human, some sign of acknowledgement of their humanity might just get them through that day. So I always do that. The only thing I don't like homeless people doing is trying to wash my car when I'm at the stoplight.
They never do. They just get it dirtier.
I know, man. I don't like that. I don't like when, and plus the car that I drive is really nice, and I don't want anybody touching it. Yeah.
That's when you have to feel negative about it, because they're trying to make a buck, but you have to have to wave them off and like no.
Yeah, and then if I feel like if I'm giving them money without washing my car, I'm just kind of like being hustled. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So at the stoplights, I just stop like I stopped like 50 feet before I reached the stoplight. They're all
Yeah.
over there going, "What's up?" I'm like, "I don't want you touching my
Yeah,
car."
exactly.
You know.
Yeah, and you're in your own right to do that. The only way, like, I found myself being able to, like, give to those kind of situations is when I've seen that person on a consistent basis.
Right,
Like if it's on my way to my studio or to some other place or work, and I see that happening, like, every day or something, and then I'll be like, okay, this person is obviously not trying to hustle, and you can kind of try to gauge that over some time.
What do you think? What do you think about the homeless problem in downtown Austin? What are your feelings on people putting up tents and stuff like that, and camping in front of banks and in coffee shops and all that? It's getting really bad downtown.
Yeah, like the thing that I've seen first and foremost. Actually, I heard one example of this was somebody saying, "Yeah, I just don't have to get a house, for for this like 3/4
You
of a
heard
year."
somebody say that?
Yeah, like they just don't have to they don't have to pay for that end of it at all. So it's like they're camping, they got all their stuff in the city, but then you also have to be ready for the cops to come up and move you because they're not supposed to be doing that anymore. But they let it happen for some amount of time. So they bought all the tents. And then then the cops at one point would go and get rid of everybody around, and they would still have their tents. They wouldn't throw their tents away. So then they would just set them up later, and then the cops would tell them to get it off a couple weeks later, and they just take them off and set them up again later. And, now it's a perpetual process where I've seen little tents still popping up, even though only a couple months ago Adler was saying like I can't do it. Or when was it that you got the governor?
I think it started.
To send him a letter for it.
I think it started to become an actual law where you're not allowed, or they are now allowed to live in the tents.
Yeah.
That was like maybe a year ago.
Yeah, it was about a year ago, but then I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago that the governor sent our mayor a letter saying no dice on that. It's not working. You're the capital. Be clean, basically.
Right.
Like put on a better face, and so he had to kind of clean that up, but. Yeah, like they still own the tents. That's the problem now.
Well, do you know what the law is? Do you know what the law is regarding those tents?
No, what is it?
It's a camping law. It's a camping law where in the Constitution, I forgot which part of the Constitution, something under cruel and unusual punishment, where if a person is living in a tent, you are not you're not allowed by law. You're not allowed to kick them out of their tent. They need to have a place to go.
If it's their domicile.
If that's their domicile, they need to have a place to go. If they don't have a place to go and you're just throwing them out of their tent, it's considered cruel and unusual punishment. And
but where's
so
that,
under the Constitution, that's what it is.
It's
just a loophole.
Yeah, but is there other things in account, like where that tent is at? Like
it doesn't matter where it's at. It was initially just for parks, but it's not just for parks. It's anywhere.
I can see that for parks, but if it's like right at the intersection of some major street, and that's like government property, and then there's also like
just private property, government property.
Exactly.
Like you can't just start, go in your front yard and set up a tent.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that's an issue, but they could be on sidewalks, public areas. That's why they're under bridges and stuff.
Yeah. That's curious.
It's interesting to think about when you think about like homeless folks, because there's 3 reasons why people are homeless. One reason, if you ask my dad's just thinks that all homeless people are just lazy. That's not the truth.
No.
The truth is a lot of people are there because they've lost family and they have nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. Some of them are mentally ill, and some people have drug problems or drinking problems, and they landed in that place because of their habit.
Yeah.
So whenever you see homeless people, whenever I see homeless people, I'm always compassionate. But, you still got to be careful.
Yeah.
Because, they might not want to rob you, but they might rob you because they don't have anything. Mm-hmm. And if you've never been in a position where you don't have anything, then it's really hard for you to understand why they would.
Yeah.
Why they would rob you, because, there's some people, they don't have anything, man.
Yeah. And the fact of like 2 of those 3 reasons is it's kind of like a spiral downwards. And I think a lot of that is where most of our help can go, because like if you give like this whole, Medicare for all kind of thing that we're looking at, mm-hmm. that service that it needs to be provided to people that aren't really that are actually starting that spiral down. They're not all the way down there yet,
right?
But they're starting it. That's when we can really take care of these problems one by one.
I agree,
and get those people, elevated to where they need to be.
I agree, man. I'm registered. I'm a registered libertarian, but I do lean left on government helping people like that.
Yeah.
Like I will gladly pay extra taxes to have programs set up by the government to help homeless people and stuff like that. I have no problem helping anybody that needs help.
Yeah, and I think also the last decade, this perspective has changed also, and there's more of a necessity for it because of the widening gap between the upper and lower classes. There's more lower class, few higher class.
Totally.
And it's just growing more. So now is when we have to do these things. Like, I can understand people arguing for it like 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, the problem existed, but it wasn't as intense as it is now. So I see that there's that it's blatantly obvious difference.
No. There needs to be programs set in place to help the homeless people, to help people with the whole medical stuff, man. That needs. You and I have same friends that have problems and they need medical help, and they either can't get it or they risk at being taking on a giant debt.
Yeah.
And that's not good. That's not cool either, man. So that's where I do feel like government intervention right there would be something positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I go back and forth, where, like I said, I kind of grew up like really these radical, crazy ideas. I used to spray paint on churches. I was the dude that would go and start flipping off people standing in front of the Planned Parenthood. I was the person, dude. I was out there.
You're making I was voicing your opinion.
Right. I was voicing my opinion, and I was really aggressive about it. I had a giant chip in my shoulder, but as I got older and as I as I became a father specifically is when I started looking at the world a little differently. I start realizing, well, I've kind of been a libertarian my whole life. I just want people to leave me alone, and I want to leave people alone too. I don't want the government, intervening with my life as much as possible. Like, why does the government have to know about us getting married and like all that stuff? These are relationships between people. You know what I mean? But at the same time, my heart's in other places where, do I believe that the government should be involved in helping homeless people? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Even though it shouldn't be a handout thing, but it's also like you can't just be, the cure. You have to be the vitamin.
Right.
And help things not go down that path. And just kind of started up at the top of that spiral, as I was saying,
Even same thing like what the trans community, I feel like there needs to be government programs to help the trans community. With whatever, with mental therapy, whatever the issues that they have going on. I'm not a trans person. I don't know what that's like, but I see that it is a struggle. There's a lot of things I feel the government should be involved in, but there's also more I feel that they shouldn't be involved in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, sort of in the middle.
The way that I kind of see it also is that, you're talking about specific groups of people, but the fact is, as human beings, there is an extremely wide range of what normal is. Right. And for, if it's literally this wide, trans is that big, straight people are that big, bi are like right there, kind of overlapping, and then you have these other people that are just like far over here and then far on that side of the table, and that person has no idea what's going on over here and such. So that's all normal. So there has to be these blanket solutions around to be able to take care of everybody as they need to.
Yeah, everybody's a human, and everybody deserves to be treated with respect and dignity.
Yes, absolutely.
The bottom line.
Yeah.
And there's just not enough. I go grab breakfast with my dad every Saturday, and every Saturday I just got to hear this ignorant nonsense that he just says about homeless people every time. He's like, look at this guy. He's just lazy. I'm like, hey, man. And I've told him, I can't tell you how many times I've told him, I'm like, hey, man, we don't know what that guy's been through.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's going through. We don't know what just happened. That guy could be, like his last day on earth, man. He could be fighting a war right now. We have no idea. Maybe his son died 10 years ago and he never got over it, and this is what happened. We don't know.
Yeah, and his house burned down.
You can't just be like,
other,
you can't just look at this guy and just judge all homeless people like that. That's not cool. And my dad, of course, he just thinks I'm stupid. Yeah. You know, and I kind of just sort of got to sit there and take it. He's an old man. He's a boomer. You ever hear that? That's like a new thing, right? Okay, boomer.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that one time, like online. I made a stupid comment. Not a stupid comment. I commented on something. Somebody's like, okay, boomer. And I was like, do you fucking know what boomer is? Dude, it's like you're born. I'm not that old. I'm old. But I'm not that
definitely
old.
Not a boomer.
Dude, 46 is like, what is it, 35 to 46 or something? Or 36 to 46. I think you're a baby boomer.
Yeah.
36 to 46.
Yeah, you're babies of the boomers. Yeah, because the boomers was after World War II. Like after everybody came back home, and like that's obviously like our parents' generation and stuff, and then we're of the babies of that. Yeah.
I don't really write music so much in the vein of any political anything. I used to when I was a kid, but these days my music revolves around spirituality. Because I do believe in God, and I just don't believe in like the biblical God and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there's definitely something out there, but I think we've tried to explain it with God.
You and I are proof of that.
Yeah, but God, ghosts, whatever kind of other deity you're thinking, there is something out there that our human brains can't explain.
Bro.
Just like if you're trying to explain, like what was Carl Sagan put it like, okay, so imagine you're trying to tell an ant who is very well aware of like this two-dimensional flat thing, or trying to explain 3D or 4D to somebody. Try to explain to somebody who only knows this flat surface. You know, you can go over here to that color over here, and you can go to this thing over there. Try to explain to somebody who only lives in that there's an up and down.
Yeah, wow, dude.
So now, if we understand that up, down, left, right, forward, backwards thing, what's that fourth dimension? Well, it's time, but then what's that fifth dimension?
Have you seen a ghost?
I can say I've experienced.
I heard that the ranch was haunted.
Yeah, those stories definitely go. But I believe myself to be a very logical person, and the way that I always try to explain something in my head.
Yeah.
Like, okay, in the most random way that it possibly ever could be explained, that's sufficient enough for me to say it's not a ghost in my own brain. But there was one time, like, I'll never forget. It was during the Sublime with Rome record.
Let's hear
and
it.
We were in the big Neve room, and there's this like little like refrigerator and coffee area off to the side of the console and all. Nobody was over there. You know, I was sitting at the computer desk with the console to my left. So I was like, it was kind of like off over there to like where we are seeing in that direction over there, about over to that table. Right. And the next thing I know, there's like a tray with a bunch of mugs on it, you know, that we would go and clean and come back and stuff like that. But one of those glasses, it seemed like there was a rock thrown from the other side of the room and just went crash right into all those.
What?
And
it broke? It broke the glass?
Shattered it. And I was it was off of my periphery, not periphery, but like about my my 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I had a computer monitor in front of me. So nothing walked over there. Nothing was thrown over there, but it just like went,
You never saw like something drop? Was there rock?
There was nothing. I went over there to investigate, didn't find
Nothing.
anything but a broke ass mug. And I was just like, what the fuck happened? Zero explanation in my mind of how something like that can happen.
That happened right in front of you.
Yeah, it happened right in front of me. There's plenty of other stories at the ranch of people's like mattresses levitating and stuff like that.
What?
That like I've heard two people talk about that. There was one really interesting story before we had acquired the ranch next to us where the Adobe studio was built. But there's the studio in this giant blue shed that's now coming up to Sonic Ranch's 7th studio. We just got an awesome Neve board for that. Mm-hmm. But between those two buildings, there was an electrician in like the mid-90s that said he went down there. And do you remember Terminator when somebody would be going to the past and like there was this like ball and the lightning coming out and like they had that little indented area?
Yep.
He said that it was kind of like that. In between the two buildings, just this ball of light radiating and little zaps going to the walls of the buildings on the side.
Wow, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, and that was his witness account. And then there's also been I remember one of the cleaning ladies said that she saw somebody in the blue shed and then walk into like kind of by the door. She was at the ranch house that was about maybe 100 yards or 75 yards away from it, and she saw somebody like in like the blue shed with that big old like garage door that would open that you could fit a semi truck through, and like that door was open and she saw somebody there with like a big old sombrero, and just like kind of walk slowly into there, and she went over to look to see who it was because she didn't recognize when nobody was there.
75. So this place is giant.
The
ranch is giant.
Oh yeah, it's at this point I think Tony owns somewhere around like 6,000 or 7,000 acres, and there's about maybe
that's fucking massive.
Oh yeah, huge, and it's right on the border of Mexico. So and at that Adobe ranch, there's or the Adobe studio on that side where he acquired that property from Mr. Garcia, like in 2008ish or something like that, 2007 I think. I'm not sure, but Mr. Garcia had said also at one point that there was a dude who's like, okay, the story was, I was going to say like at the entrance of the Adobe Ranch that we had gotten from Mr. Garcia, there's an old sign that's pointed towards the house, but not towards the road, the old highway that was built before I-10 and all. And it says Texas Custom House. And there's the original shield with the 13 stars and the vertical bars kind of thing.
Yep.
And it's all rusted out. Looks like the sign's over 100 years old.
Wow.
And it's still drilled into there with iron and everything. And so that's thought, and it says H also, Custom House H. I tried to look up stuff on that, couldn't find jack.
Wow.
So it was one of the old, custom houses for people coming from Mexico, coming into the United States, up to the main road, from years and years and years ago. So there's obviously a lot of things that went through in that bit of property. Another time, somebody had said that right along that road, that custom house thing is, and it goes all the way down to the border.
Yeah.
They said that somebody had seen a guy wearing like full military outfit from like the late 1800s that you see in all the movies, like the sombrero, the bullet belt with the old rifle behind him and everything, and a pistol at the side. What? And like they say they saw that person in front of what was the Adobe studio building at the time, which was just some like shed. It wasn't a shed, it was like a workhouse for the ranch that Mr. Garcia had. And like come out of that door and like stand there for a while and just start to walk down that path towards Mexico.
That is
and just
wild.
Went into the distance.
Dude, listen to this, man. Okay. I think I've talked about this before. I'm not sure if I've actually talked about it on my podcast, but maybe I told you the story. But I saw a ghost, and this is one of the things. This is like one of the most important things that ever happened in my life, where I said to myself, "Reality is not reality. This is something is going on here." Up until that point, I had seen I might see a person walking behind you, and then there's nobody there. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing has happened to me a couple of times.
It happened to me the other day when I reversed into a car that I thought wasn't there, and I was like, "Damn it!"
What?
Yeah, stupid accident. But we'll just leave that there.
All right. So
he wasn't there. Where'd he come from? It's a ghost,
dude. All right. So my friend Nathan and my friend Jeremy and my friend Blake, they moved to Austin 2001, 2002. Or 2000 maybe, I don't know. I think it was 2001. And they moved from Commerce, Texas. I guess they had been going to school there or lived together there in Commerce, Texas, which is near Dallas, with like 30 minutes from Dallas. They moved to Austin. I became friends with them. They had this band called Mina, and I needed a guitar player and I needed a drummer. I already had a bass player. Bass player knew these guys. That's how I got to know them. My bass player here in Austin, my friend Mark, who's passed away. But anyways, so the deal was, I'm going to play in your band, Mina, and you guys get to be in my band, and we'll help each other out with shows. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So they're like, cool. Well, we have a couple of gigs, that we have to commit, that we were committed to playing up in Dallas. Do you want to come and sit in on a gig with us? And I was like, yeah, I'll totally will. Oh, that was weird to sound my neck maybe. So I thought, yeah, this will be great. This is a good time for me to, get to adjust to the songs, and I'm really going to learn the tunes, whatever. So the day comes for the show. we take 2 cars. Me and the drummer, Jeremy, were in one car, and Nathan and Blake are in another car. And we're driving up to Dallas to go play the show that was in Deep Elm District. And we get to the gig. On the way up to the gig, about halfway through, Jeremy reveals to me that he's actually from Dallas and that his dad wants him to house sit. He's like, hey, my dad's out of town. He knows about the gig. He wants to know if you can house sit. I mean, if I can house sit. So can you stay with me at my dad's house? And then in the morning, we'll, because Blake and Nathan they're going to go to Commerce. So in the morning, you and I will just go catch up with them in Commerce and get breakfast with them in the morning.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, cool. So we get to the gig, we play the show, and I remember thinking, Dimebag Daryl has a strip club around here. And I remember I went looking for it, but it was kind of a sketchy area, sort of. So I just got liquor and I drank in the van, and then I went to the gig. And I remember I had like 2 or 3 shots of whiskey before we played just to kind of loosen up. And then after we played, Nathan was like, hey, man, don't drink anymore. Because when we leave here, it's going to be about 2 a.m. There's a shit ton of cops. And they like pulling people over, so nobody drink because they're all paranoid. They're like really paranoid about getting pulled over. So I was like, all right, I'm on board with that. Cool. So we wait till the club closes, 2:00 in the morning. We finally get paid. So Nathan and Blake were like, okay, we're going to go to Commerce. And then we're like, all right, we'll see you guys in the morning. So me and Jeremy head to his dad's house. We get to his dad's house, really nice area, super suburban-ish area, really nice street, very nice area. Like a middle class area for sure, upper middle class area, and it's a ranch style house. There was a long walkway from the sidewalk to the house. I remember that, and we go into the house, and the first thing I was like, where's the refrigerator? Let's go see if there's any beer, because that was the first thing I was thinking was, I don't even have a buzz. We came out here to play the show. I want to get a buzz on at least. By this time, it's like 2:30 in the morning. I go to the fridge, open up the fridge. There's like some weird pumpkin ale in there or something gross. But I was like, it's beer and it'll get us drunk. So fucking cool. So I grabbed it. We go out to the back, into the backyard through the sliding glass door. And we're in the backyard and we're talking back and forth. Jeremy's smoking a cigarette. I had just quit smoking. And so Jeremy's talking to me and his back is towards the sliding glass door. In the sliding glass door is a kitchen. In the middle of the kitchen, there was like a cutting island where you cut food, prepare food or whatever, and then turn around and throw it on the stove or whatever. So he's talking to me, telling me some story, and we're just going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, behind him, I'm looking at you, like I'm looking at you right now. Like behind him through the glass window, there was a woman. She walked into the kitchen. And the first thing that popped in my head was, oh, dude, we're being too loud. We woke somebody up. It was about 3 a.m, maybe 2:30, 3 a.m. by this time. And I'm thinking, we're being too loud. So I see this woman. So I'm talking and I'm looking, like I'm looking into the fucking kitchen. And this woman, she walks in through this door right here. There's like sliding glass door, hallway right here. Whatever. So she walks into the kitchen. She walks around that cutting island. She goes this way. So she's walking towards me. So she walks in. She walks around the cutting island once. Then she walks around it again twice. And then she walks out through the hallway. She had on a long nightgown. She was a thin woman. She was white. She had hair down to maybe her waist. And it was either light brown or dark blonde, curly hair. And it was just it was as close from right here to maybe the living room right there. Mm-hmm. I got a really good look at this woman. She had no shoes on. And then that's what made me think that we woke somebody up. So she walks through the hallway and my friend's still talking to me and I'm watching all this behind him. And then finally, when she walked into the hallway, I was like, "Hey, dude, let's keep it down." I was like, "Hey, man, let's keep it down."
Yeah.
And he goes, "What? Why?" I'm like, "I think we woke up your dad's girlfriend." And he goes, "My dad's girlfriend?" I'm like, yeah, I think we woke her up. He's like, what? Then he goes, what'd he say? He goes, my dad doesn't have a girlfriend. I'm like, well, I just saw somebody walk into the kitchen and walk around, and then now they're in the living room, dude. And I think we're being too loud. And he just leans back in his chair like this and goes, did you see that fucking ghost? Did you see that motherfucking ghost, Rich? And I was like, no, I didn't see a ghost. I saw a person. He goes, that's a ghost. Like, that's why you're here. He's like, we're house sitting, remember? And I was like, bullshit. He's like, yeah, woman, about late 30s, long blonde hair. She's in a nightgown, just kind of.
No shoes.
And I was like, bullshit. I fucking walk up, and as I'm walking up, dude, as I get up to walk, because I'm like, fuck you, you're bullshitting me. As I'm walking through, he's just like, that's why you're here, man. I've been seeing her since I've been 13 years old. I walk into the living room, nobody in the living room.
Oh, shit.
Nobody in the living room.
I'm out. Let's get out of here.
I was just like, and it wasn't like she was floating or translucent. You could see through her, or she was, there was nothing about her that seemed out of the ordinary. She straight up, like, I could just walk up to her and just do that.
Yeah.
Just like poke her arm, like right then and there,
Yeah. Seemed like a physical person.
But I straight up, and it made me think, like, how often do we see ghosts or even maybe interact with ghosts and don't realize that they are ghosts? Mm-hmm. Because that shit changed my life. I was like, I'm not crazy. I'm not drunk. I'm not high. And that just happened. Not only that, but this person, my friend Jeremy, described her to me and said the reason why I was there to help him house sit because he didn't want to be in the house alone. And I just happened to see the ghost he'd been watching.
She revealed herself to you.
Dude, he said that he's been seeing her his whole, like, since he's been 13 years old. He said that he, like, one time she woke him up, like, she shook him awake, and when he opened his eyes, she was, like, right there in front of him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like, touched him.
Yeah.
And then
I wonder what happened to her.
So the next, because I was like, well, how old is the house? I think the house was made in the 70s or the 60s. It didn't look that old to me. It was a really nice house too. It was like nice. It was really nice.
Yeah, just an upper middle class kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to look up history on the house. Then my friend's like, nah, I don't want to. I tried to get him to come on the podcast so we could talk about it. He didn't want to do it.
Jeez.
I was like, okay, well. But that's something that happened. And that's something I feel that was important to me. One time at this other place I used to live at and down the road, I was in bed and I had some girl over, some girl I was dating at the time, and she spent the night. I woke up in the middle of the night to somebody tucking me in. Like I could feel two hands, like tucking the blankets between me and the mattress. Mm-hmm. And then I remember, I didn't know this person that well. I'd only known her for like maybe a week or two. And I just remember thinking, oh, this girl's so sweet. She's so sweet. Because I had been woken, I could feel her pushing, tucking me in. And I remember thinking, this girl is so sweet. So after she finished tucking, she went from my top side, right here where my shoulders are, all the way down to like my back side. Not to my butt, but right there she stopped. And I was going, and I said, thank you. I was like, thank you. And I didn't hear anything. And I was like, what? So I put my hand back, and that was the edge of my back was to the edge of the bed. So there was nobody there.
That could have fit there, yeah.
So I kind of like open my eyes and let my eyes adjust, and she's on the other side of the bed. So somebody tucked me in, and the place I used to live at before where Conrad was living with me, dude, that place is fucking crazy haunted. And even I told Conrad too. I was like, hey man, dude, this house is haunted. And of course, Conrad just made fun of me, laughed at me until he started experiencing shit.
Oh, geez.
You can ask Conrad about it, dude. He experienced some shit too.
I'm curious.
He just couldn't believe it. And he would always say, there's got to be some fucking explanation. Shit like this, there's got to be an explanation. I'm like, dude, this has been happening.
Yeah. Since
I've been living here. That place I used to live at was fucked up.
Well, it brings up a thought of so as I was saying before, I believe there's something out there. We can't explain it with our human brains. Right.
Right.
Whatever it is. So be that a fact that it exists. There's definitely times that are negative and sometimes they're benevolent. Whenever those experiences come, like, what was that? Like that girl that was walking around the island and all.
Yep.
It wasn't a negative experience.
Right.
And you can tell like if something's being malicious to you.
No,
you'll
just
feel
like when
like
you meet a person, you get the vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And so if that's the fact, like, that's not a malicious entity and you're able to sense it, I believe, try to enjoy that. Because if you're ever able to communicate along lines of something that humans are not supposed to, that we can barely understand, focus on it. Appreciate it. Love it. Think that, this extra entity is here with me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying build a relationship with it, but, try to exercise something with it. And if you do feel negativity, then step back and do whatever. But I believe that if you're there with it, fucking just be with it,
Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Dude, you remember, when did you move here? What year did you move here?
Late 2016.
Okay, so I don't know if you were here when Red 7 was a club. It's now called Barracuda.
Yeah.
Okay, so before it was called Red 7. And next to Red 7 was Old Beauty Bar, and now it used to be called Holy Mountain. I was part owner of Holy Mountain.
Yeah.
I had noticed some weird stuff going on at Holy Mountain. And I saw a big, tall, skinny shadow person. Like, when I say tall, I mean like 9 or 10 feet tall, skinny, long, and it ran across the fucking. I saw it. It ran across the whole where Beauty Bar was. It ran across. So, anyways, this was when it was still Beauty Bar actually, and then so I talked to my friends next door. My friend Tyson and Jared were owners of Red 7. And I talked, and it wasn't Jared, it was Tyson. Tyson told me that women in the restroom, in the girls' restroom, were complaining to management and the bar staff that there was somebody looking down at them from the vent. Like the vent was pointed down. It's like an air vent.
Yeah.
Where air comes out.
Yeah.
And the girls were saying on more than one occasion, like multiple times, people were saying that they washing their hands, they would look up into the vent and they would see somebody looking down at them from the vent.
That's not creepy.
And they thought that somebody had snuck up there and was like in the vent. Dude, the vent was like it was hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
It was hanging from the ceiling. The vent was about 1.5 feet wide at the most. There was no way you could even get like, the skinniest guy in there.
Yeah.
Not let alone your head all the way down and like looking down through the
it's
through
a
the
9
vent.
foot tall shadow.
So what happened was, then they turned and then he took me into the restroom because it was closed. The bar was closed or the club was closed. He's like, check that shit out. So what they did to address the issue is they took the vent cover off and they turned it upside down so the vent air pointed up so nobody could look down. Mm-hmm. But up until that point, enough people complained that somebody was staring at them from the vent.
That's crazy.
At Red 7. All of downtown is haunted, dude. I worked at this other club. It was like a super hardcore, like ghetto club, man. Like there was always some shit popping off. I don't know how I got that gig. I was that dude like, $1 wells. I was like the door guy. I was doing that shit for a while. And at the end of the night, my job was to go clean the restrooms and get all the garbage out of the restrooms. Part of my job. Everybody had a job there. And one day one night after, I walked in, we cleared out the club. I go in there and I'm getting stuff out and I'm just like sweeping. And under the stalls, I see somebody's shoes. I see somebody standing there. Brown shoes, wingtips shoes.
Yeah.
With like brown trousers and they weren't sitting down, they were standing. And I was like, and I hit the door. I'm like, hey. And nothing happened. So I go back and I get the bouncers and I was like, hey, you guys forgot somebody. There's somebody in the restroom. dudes roll up. What's up? Fucking they're all crazy. He's like, get up, dude. Nobody in there.
Oh, jeez.
Nobody in there, and it was fucking locked on the inside. And then I said, well, I saw some, and then they all just laughed at me. They're like, oh, what are you seeing ghosts, dude?
No, that whole
dude.
thing,
The next day I go to work, the owner of that club was like, because he's opening the door for me to start my shift, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, hey man, something happened to me here too. And then so he told me that he was there one night counting out the money, and he had his gun with him. Obviously he's got a lot of money in the counting room, I guess. And he said that he heard somebody knocking on the door. So he gets up and he's like, hey, I got a gun. And he said he didn't hear anything. So finally he got enough nerve to, try to go out of the room. So he said when he turned the knob, he unlocked the door and he turned the knob. He said he could feel somebody else on the other side holding the knob, holding it. So that's when he was like, thought he was going to kill somebody. Finally got the door open and there's nobody there. So that's the story he told me. Room 710 used to be it's called Valhalla now, but Room 710, 710 Red River. Mm-hmm. The people there, when I was working at 710, they said they saw a woman walking around in a black dress. They actually saw a woman walking around in an old-timey dress. That's weird, right?
Yeah.
If you're a ghost, why would you need clothes? What is that?
I don't know.
Anyways, whatever. Ghosts are real, and I believe in God. Anyways, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up now, man. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that? If they're seeking a world-class recording from a world-class producer such as yourself, where would they get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm pretty much Scary American on everything. So like Instagram with an underscore in between, .com. Yeah, you can reach out to me there, and you can find all my contact information on my website too.
Nice. And what's your website? Just scaryamerican.com?
Yes, sir.
That was available?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, for anybody listening to, if you're interested in hearing any or having a super quality badass recording, get a hold of Charles Godfrey. He is a badass motherfucker.
Oh, geez.
He is so good at what he does. He's also just an all-around awesome dude. He's one of my best friends. And,
it's all about keeping the good people around you, man.
Yeah, and
that's what it is.
He's in. If you have, I think, don't you have some interns sometimes?
Here and there, if they're thirsty enough for it. Yeah, that's real. You can tell who wants it real fucking quick.
If you want it real quick and you're thirsty, get a hold of Charles. But anyways, all right. Well, that's it. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. So
thanks for your time, man.
Yeah, thank you for
awesome.
Your time.
I'm glad I could come out here and do this with you. I've heard so much about your podcast over the years that we've known each other, and glad to finally be here and do one with you.
I'm trying to get as much content as I can. Go ahead, please click subscribe link. The subscribe link. Jason McMaster. I'm sorry I didn't remember your band. It's called Broken Teeth. I'm such an idiot. And also be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Trip Crystals Media, and also stay tuned for more stuff. I think we're going to be having Mike Wiebe from Gamblers, Riverboat Gamblers, supposed to be coming on. My friend Jason Kotwitz plays in Dead Boys, also plays in Bulimics. Jamie Miller, who plays in Bad Religion now, is going to be down for South by. Him and Eric, my friend Eric Sanger, might be coming down to do a podcast with me too.
Hell yeah!
Well, that would be really cool, because when I found out that Jamie was playing in Bad Religion, I was like, of course he's playing in Bad Religion. Jamie's one of the best drummers on the planet, literally one of the best drummers ever. And you got to work with him. He played on the Trail of Dead record, right? Mm-hmm. He's so ridiculously good, and such a good dude too, and tall. And
tall, yeah.
And he likes to press buttons on my backpack when we're in the middle of the fucking customs in India or wherever we were. Anyways, all right. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.
Peace.
Bye. Oh, let's go ahead and finish it off with The Rise. Oh, I'm sorry. Teresa Banks Profiles. Oh, real quick before I start this. The Teresa Banks Profiles band name had to be changed to The Rise because they got a cease and desist letter from David Lynch. I called my band Fire Walk With Me. I have not gotten that cease and desist from David. Anyways,
hopefully
all right.
you do. That'd be worth it.
That would be. I could change the name finally. All right. Bye, guys.